Welcome to the Let's Feel Good podcast. I'm your host, Annie. After nearly a decade of asking, why don't I feel good? I ultimately discovered the answers through simple changes to my daily habits. I've spent years healing myself and investing in health and wellness companies tackling the chronic disease epidemic. Along the way, I realized something important. True health isn't built through cold plunges, IV drips, or $30 smoothies. It's the small, everyday choices that add up, shaping both how we feel today and our long-term health. Let's Feel Good is here to keep it simple, giving you practical tips and swaps that compound into a lifetime of vibrant health. Thanks for being here. Let's feel good together. Welcome back to the Let's Feel Good podcast. I'm here today with Maya, the founder of Alia Health. We're going to dive into her personal health journey, the healing power of high-quality olive oil, how it supports our gut, our hormones, our skin, and our overall health, and the biggest myths that people still believe about olive oil. Let's get into it. This is going to be a fun conversation today. Thank you for being here.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here.
Amazing. Well, I'd love to start off. You have a really cool journey, spending years in tech, never really felt great. You had some gut discomfort, gut dysbiosis, gut issues that you struggled to resolve. I'd love to start with your journey from working in tech, not feeling great, to becoming an entrepreneur and essentially solving your own gut health issues through your own business.
Yeah, so when I moved to the US, I was 17 and I was like a kid in a candy store. I was very, very excited with all the opportunities that the US had to offer in terms of internships or experiences on campus or off campus. Like there was just so many things that made me just so excited. I come from a country where, we don't have as many resources or opportunities. And when I moved, it was just like, this is amazing. I need to try it all. I need to really understand like, what are my interests? What career do I want to pursue? And where do I see myself in the future? And I did that. And while doing so, I was doing just so much and I started working in tech and I was just getting into this habit of like hustling, constant hustling. I feel like it even got like it was more hustling when I even joined a startup as their first like full-time hire and first like business kind of hire. I was like the only person who has business, like not an engineer. And I was really just doing everything from ops to marketing to bringing the product to market. Like there was just so many things to be done. And I was just so excited and I was just working all the time. This was like kind of my first step into like the startup world. Thought that in order to be a successful founder or operator in the startup ecosystem, I had to work all the time. Like every single hours that I had to go towards, getting things done and making sure that I was making the most out of it. And quickly, I realized that that was just not the way to do it. And that came to just burnout. And I feel like this is very common from like founders, but I think specifically for women. I was dating a founder as well, and I was kind of following the same routine of, you know, you're either working out or you're working, and there's no like balance. Yeah, there's no work life balance. Like if you want to make it, if you want to be successful in this, like you just have to give it all. And whenever you're not doing that, then you should feel guilty. And that's kind of like how I felt. And I don't know if this really led to my gut health issues. I think there's a mix of a lot of things. It was like chronic stress that came from that experience and also like the food that I got exposed to here. And, the way that we eat. So it was like a mix of like hustling plus the diet here. And I was born and raised in Tunisia. We eat very fresh and like seasonal foods there. And suddenly I was eating everything that was like, I remember walking into Trader Joe's for the first time and seeing that every single fruits and veggies were available at any time of the year. And I was just like so surprised because back home, like we have a market for like every season. And I know like every time I would be at my grandma house, she'd be, oh, this is the season of oranges and citrus. And like she will like make a lot of things using that. So that's kind of like my experience. It's like I came from such a different world of viewing food and going through life as well. Like it's very similar. Like Tunisia is right across from Italy. So our lifestyle is very much, dolce far niente. Like you don't do really much. You kind of enjoy life. You enjoy your food. And I think that it was just a different environment. But now, like after 8 years being in the US, I kind of came to the realization that like, no, I should bring that balance. Like I should bring what I know from Tunisia and introduce it in the way that we operate in the US. Because for women specifically, when you have like hormones that like go up and down and it's a roller coaster, like you need to make sure that you create that balance. It's not cheesy. It's not like, yeah, I think it's really important. So that's kind of like my journey in a nutshell.
Amazing. It's so important too. And I think there's this collective narrative that harder is better, that to be successful, you have to be burnt out, that the faster you run, the quicker you'll get there. Um, and that you can't, as you said, if you're not working, you should be working out. It's why do we always need to be optimizing? And I actually think that that way of thinking, that way of living and being moves us further away from authenticity. It moves us further away from ourselves. It can also take away from our gifts. I think like in stillness, we can feel what's right for us. We can think better. We can think clearer. We can connect better, more authentically. But people need to kind of collectively redefine this narrative, because especially living in a city like New York, being in tech, being in the startup ecosystem, it can be really hard to say, no, I'm going to leave work at 5:30, whatever it may be, and go to a workout and then go for a walk with no phone, no headphones, or linger over dinner for hours with friends and just like enjoy company and not always be optimizing and doing. And I think it is so important that people start to normalize that. And I also think that that is, a precursor to success in a much more healthy and balanced way than constantly optimizing is. So tell us, it's funny though, because you're a founder, which is a very hard journey and you definitely work really, really hard. Tell
Yeah.
us what that looked like, what the bridge from kind of the corporate tech space to starting your own company, and how your gut issues inspired you to start this business.
Yeah. So I have always known that I wanted to start my own business, that I wanted to go the entrepreneurial route. However, as an international student, you can't really do that after graduating because you need to be sponsored by like another company. And so that's why I went into tech, like big tech company. And that was kind of like the easy way, not the easy way, but to make sure that like I had a way to work in the US. And then I got laid off and I had two choices. I was like, okay, do I want to keep climbing this corporate ladder or do I want to kind of like start from scratch? And when I was having conversation with my career coach, I have noticed that as much as I loved my team, as much as I loved, what I was doing, it felt very much like specific. I was doing field marketing, like I was doing like just this area of marketing. Like I wasn't touching a lot of other things. Excuse me. And I the other side was like, okay, well, how can I go into startups if that's what I want to do? And so I was like, great. I know that I want to, and so I knew that I wanted to go into startups. And then I was like, okay, like what kind, what's the industry? And so when I got laid off, I went through this like personal health scare because I needed to find a sponsor to like stay in the US very quickly. And so I had 2 weeks to really find a way to work in the US. And it was just like a mess. And through this experience, I realized I was having like hormonal issues. I was not feeling great. I didn't really feel like going to the gym, like all of the things that I loved, like I just didn't feel like doing. And I wanted to get help. Like I wanted to like really understand my hormones because I knew they were kind of like the answer. I just didn't know like why specifically they were like, I just wanted more data. And that's like a problem that you can have. And today, if you go to your doctor and you're asking like, can I have data around my hormones? They're going to ask you for questions to make sure that you're struggling with something. So it's less preventative. It's less proactive. It's more so like symptom, you know, driven. And so because I did have some symptoms, but it wasn't big enough. It wasn't bad enough. That's kind of like what I had.
What
So it's
were
like
your symptoms?
I was like bloated all the time. I like don't know what was going on. Like every time I would eat, I just felt this discomfort. Like I wouldn't be able to go to the gym like if I had food before. Um, I was tired all the time. I was just exhausted. I had a lot of hormonal acne as well. Like just a lot of things were not right.
Mhm.
A lot of things that I love doing. So I think it was also mixed with like mild depression, mild anxiety. There was a lot of changes in my life. So it was kind of a moment where my body, my mind, it wasn't aligned. I was in alignment.
Did your symptoms come overnight, or did they
No. So I've
months
always Yeah,
stress?
I've always felt like I've always had gut health issues ever since I moved to the US. But I never really thought much about it. I was just like, I guess I have to deal with it. And I did some research and I found out that no, like it shouldn't feel this way. Like you shouldn't like these are symptoms that there's something deeper going on in your body. Like you shouldn't ignore feeling bloated. And like most women today are just ignoring that. They're like, oh, it's just part of like how I eat. They're like, or like, I can't eat gluten. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you can't eat gluten because you're gonna feel bloated, but why would you feel bloated? Like there's a deeper thing behind it. And those are like signs that you should like pay attention to. And that's the
Right.
thing that I got excited about. I was like, wow, like I'm not the only one struggling with this. Like, I thought I was the only one because I moved from Tunisia and, my diet there was very clean and fresh and everything was homemade. And now I was exposed to like this market of food where everything was highly accessible, cheap, and ultra processed food, which is like, it's like very accessible and it's good. And it's like it
Yeah.
tastes good, right?
Thank
And why
you.
does it taste good? It makes you addicted to it. There's a
Right.
deeper answer there for another time. So it was like just it didn't come overnight. It just kind of like got worse. After also moving to New York, it definitely got worse. So I basically got diagnosed with SIBO, which happens when when you have inflammation in your body. And so I think this was like not only due to the food, but also to the stress. So yeah, it
I
was
had
all coming together.
it is horrible, and I also had it when I was living in New York, and it's stress, and I also think too, even if you eat relatively healthy, and obviously we all have some processed food, some level of sugar in our diet,
Yeah,
SIBO is small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. So, a candida or a bacteria overgrowth in your small intestine, but the bacteria feeds off of sugar and carbohydrates and all that. But if you're really stressed or you're in job that doesn't feel right to you, or you have like, relationship, friendship stress, or you're in a city that's just, for me, it was like the noise, the sirens, just the
yeah,
constant stimulation, go, go, go. It makes it really hard for your body to heal. It makes it difficult for that little bit of sugar you have to not lead to inflammation and, worsen your gut health symptoms because your resilience is lower or because you have stress and kind of inflammation coming from external sources that aren't always food too. So,
exactly.
perfect storm.
Yeah, and when you get diagnosed with SIBO, you only have one option, which is to go on antibiotics. And you know what happens when you go on antibiotics? It goes off for like few months and then it comes back. So it's
Yeah.
not really it's not really a solution. And I think because it's a quick fix solution, it's not like it doesn't really fix it at the root cause. So you really need to go to the root cause and like how to heal inflammation. I think inflammation is getting more popular now and people are starting to understand what it is, but it's really like what we're about at LA. It's like, how can we kind of heal inflammation? Like stripping down to the essentials and healing your gut. So that leads me to answer your second part of your question, which is how did I kind of come across like this solution? So when I got diagnosed, they were like, okay, antibiotics. I didn't want to do that. And the second really solution was to just play around with what was available on the market, like wellness supplements. And so I started to kind of consume anything that was marketed to me. I was like, maybe this will work. Maybe this supplement will work. Maybe this bloating relief will work. And unfortunately, not like it didn't really work. The thing that worked the most, I would say, was like changing my diet to a diet that I was more aligned with my dasha type, which is kind of like your body type. This is like kind of Eastern medicine. And I was eating things that were more grounded and like warm and cooked. Like, not, like, I don't know, many women like eat salads and they get bloated and they're like, what's going on? Like, I'm eating something healthy, but that doesn't mean that it's like necessarily good for your bloat. So raw veggies can be really hard for your digestive system to digest, essentially. And so I learned about that. And I was like, wow, there's so much that we don't know about it. Like, why don't we just, so I just went that, like, I just learned so much about it by just my own experience. On a trip back home, I was having a conversation with my grandma and she mentions, my grandpa was on the other side of the table, was having like his like regular tablespoon of olive oil every morning. She was like, why don't you just try olive oil? I'm like, grandma, I know olive oil is good for your heart, for your metabolic. Like I knew about these like kind of long-term health benefits that olive oil had, but I didn't know of the direct ones. And so that's when I kind of started to take a tablespoon every morning and I didn't change anything else. I just did that and with my diet in Tunisia. And so I definitely felt, actually, I didn't notice anything until I moved back to the US. And then my symptoms came back and I was like, wait, what? I haven't felt them in a while. What's going on? And so I tried the olive oil back home, like back home in the US. And sure enough, my symptoms of bloating, gone. So I did some research and I found out that olive oil has been proven to act as a natural prebiotic, feeding off the good bacteria and helping you have a smoother digestion. So when you have 30 minutes before your meal, a shot of olive oil, you're able to kind of like coat your stomach lining in some ways. And like it acts as a lubricant in your body. And so I got so excited about this and I tried it with like, I shared it with some friends who also shared their like bloating experience. And that's kind of like where I was like, wait, I think that there's something in there. And there's another side of the story because things happen really, magically, we're going to say. But my grandpa was going to sell our family estate of olive trees. And it's a variety of olives that's extremely potent and high in polyphenols, which I will get in a bit later. And I told him, no, I think that there's an opportunity to bring olive oil and introduce olive oil in a way that has never been done before, but is very familiar to like, European countries, Mediterranean countries. And so that's where Alia came about. I was like, okay, instead of introducing just a big bottle of olive oil, why can't we introduce olive oil in a way that's medicinal? If it's so medicinal, if it's so proven, why don't we have an easy way to consume that? And so that's where it came from.
That's amazing. So tell us what the product is.
Yes. So the product is your daily single serve high polyphenol olive oil shots. So you get a monthly box if you sign up for the subscription of 30 shots. It's 20 milliliter. It's about the daily recommended dose to consume a high polyphenol olive oil in your diet. So you get the healthy fats plus the polyphenol. And that's why olive oil is really good for your health. It's Polyphenol are natural like antioxidants, that naturally plant compounds found
Mhm.
in foods like berries, coffee, wine, and olive oil. And the higher it is, the better it is for your body. These are antioxidants, so it helps to like fight oxidative stress in your body, which is related to inflammation. And yeah. So in the olive oil world, you have olive oil, like you can have a high quality olive oil, but it's not necessarily going to be a medicinal olive oil. When I say medicinal, I mean that it's very rich in those polyphenols. It's kind of like the potency of those natural plant compounds. And then there's
Mhm.
different ways of like preserving that, making sure that when you store it, it's like in a dark glass bottle. And yeah, I can go into whichever route you'd like me to.
We'll dive into the benefits of olive oil, but I wanted to ask you one quick question just from your personal experience. Other than your gut, what other benefits have you started to feel and notice since taking these shots daily?
Yeah, good question. And that's a huge one because gut and bloating is the number one complaints that people have these days and that I had. So it was like the first thing that like we're going to focus on and you're going to see the results. Like if you consume this within a week, you're going to see the results versus all the supplements. But what I've realized after this, and it actually didn't come from me, but it came from my customers because I have a feedback form that they kind of fill out. And I read them and I found out that most women were struggling with PCOS or endometriosis or like these
Mhm.
hormonal imbalance conditions. And they were looking to achieve two goals. One, reduce inflammation. The second, regulate blood sugar. So what I found out is like not only helps you digest food better, but it actually helps you regulate your blood sugar naturally. So when you have it 30 minutes before, it balances your blood sugar and it stabilizes it. And so you're not feeling the afternoon crash or like feeling lethargic after, a big meal because you were able to, yeah, some it has this like metabolic health response. That and another thing is like it helps with satiety. Like it makes you feel full longer. And so that goes into kind of the metabolic health benefits as well. And lastly, insulin sensitivity. So
Mhm.
that helps as well because it regulates your blood sugar. It will have like a positive impact on your insulin. And that's something that you struggle with when you have PCOS or when you have a hormonal imbalance condition.
Great. Did you notice effects on energy, sleep, hair, skin? Because those are all kind of the downstream effects, lowering inflammation, of improving your metabolic health.
Yes. So what I just mentioned, those are the things that would be responsible for your energy, like feeling lethargic, that's an energy, skin health. So when you able to heal your gut, you're healing your skin as well. And hair. I didn't know about this, but this all came from my customers who were like, yeah, I struggle. One used to struggle with acne like her entire life. She was on Accutane and suddenly she feels so confident walking out of the house. And that is like amazing. That's like the whole, I mean, that means that like you healed something else, It doesn't mean it's like ingestible skincare. The hair loss, yeah. Someone else mentioned that they used to struggle with a lot of like hair shedding, and this has helped. They haven't really changed anything. So we always want to make sure that like, you're not doing a lot of other things that you might not know like what is the cause of this.
Right.
So I always say like, yes, olive oil shot will help you, but it's also associated with a good diet, like trying your best like with sleep and trying to regulate your nervous system naturally and all of these things. So it's like all like a holistic approach of health and hormonal health.
Yeah. Olive oil is so important in everything. I mean, we're gonna dive into the nitty-gritty of exactly why olive oil is so good for you. You mentioned polyphenols and all that, but so much of this is related, especially as women. Like I had PCOS, I had skin issues, I had inflammatory issues, I had crazy gut dysbiosis, you name it, thyroid dysfunction, Hashimoto's, autoimmune disease. All the root cause of all of those conditions most often are very interconnected, and the healing properties of diet and movement and sleep and reducing toxins in our environment, those all get at the core, and like the effects of changing your lifestyle and incorporating a product like this and eating more whole foods and all of that, they really better your health in all of these aspects. And it's so cool because like you get so much bang for your buck if you take an olive oil shot every morning or start incorporating a higher fat, more whole food based diet. You'll notice your hair change, your skin change, your bloat go away, your energy improve, your anxiety decrease, mental clarity and cognition improve. So I just think it's so amazing that it's not, I think traditional medicine, oftentimes there's a medication that will band aid or whack one mole down, but something like this is so foundational that the effects on your body are everywhere. Your body, your mind, your just how you feel on a day to day basis are incredible.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that, like, I'm sure you know Dr. Mark Hyman, and there's
Yes.
something that he says. He's like, chronic disease are the most common like cause of death in the US. And chronic disease are due to inflammation that happens in your body in some sort, right? Throughout all of these years, either eating a poor diet or not exercising or all of these basic foundational. And he says that the way to heal inflammation, so what causes inflammation is like, this plus highly inflammatory foods. And so he's like, the only way to actually heal that is to kind of do the same thing but reverse. Consume the most anti-inflammatory foods like that you can get your hands on. And olive oil is the one of them, but like there's plenty out there. So the thing, it's like, yes, it sounds like cheesy. It sounds woo-woo. Like I never really thought that like the answer for medicine was like really food, but it's so like it's crazy what I've experienced like before and after consuming this, that I'm like, there we need to like educate people. We need to talk about this, and we need to make sure that women have access, women and like men, whatever, but have access to this
I know.
first, because that's really how you're going to heal your body. And then you can consume all of the supplements and all the things that you can get through a diet. But really healing it at the root cause and at like the inflammation is like what's going to move the needle for your health.
100%. Food is the number one lever to change your biology. I believe it wholeheartedly. Think about it. Like what you consume, what you put in your mouth every day is what makes your cells, is what makes your tissues, is what regulates your biological processes. If you're putting in chemicals and, fake foods and artificial flavorings and gums and emulsifiers and highly processed reactive seed oils, which create oxidative stress in our body, we are only creating inflammation and dysfunction and harming our cells, harming our organs, harming our tissues. We have, what you put on your fork is like the most powerful decision I think that you could make every day for your health, for both your long-term health, because it's, I think 90% of chronic disease is lifestyle driven. That's been pretty proven. But I think
Mhm.
100% how you feel every day is driven by the lifestyle choices you make, with the most important one being what you eat. So it's so true. So, so true. I would love to dive into the benefits of olive oil. I think there's a million, but there's four main buckets that we could focus on. So if you want to touch on each of these quickly, but
Yeah.
cardiovascular health, metabolic health, digestive health, and dermal health. And dermal health is one that I think is not well known or talked about enough. So that's going to be a very interesting bucket to dive into. But let's touch on those four to really kind of solidify the benefits that olive oil has in our body.
Yeah. So the first one is cardiovascular health. And the reason why it helps with that is because it helps improve your lipid profiles, like the oleic acids, getting into the science here. But the oleic acid, which is the monounsaturated fat found in olive oil, helps improve your kind of like lipid profiles, which is cholesterol. And it also fights oxidative stress, which is like very important for like long-term heart health. In terms of metabolic health, I think I mentioned it a little bit before, but it helps with feeling full longer. So you get like a smoother glucose response. It supports insulin sensitivity and just like metabolic inflammation. And it also produces GLP-1 naturally. And so that is kind of like the aftermath of having a smoother digestion overall, which kind of leads me to the digestive health. And in this category, I always say like olive oil acts as a natural prebiotic because it feeds off the good bacteria and it helps promote like a healthy microbiome environment in your gut. And so that's something very interesting to see. And that's like also the reason why you it helps you with having a smoother digestion and less bloating, etc. Because all of this is related. And like regular bowel movements. That's the first thing that you will notice within the first 2 weeks, I would say. And then lastly, dermal health. So this is connected to like, skin and hair and all of that. So the healthy fats and the polyphenols like together support the skin barrier and inflammation balance. So you feel less dryness, better tone, and just like more glow in your skin.
It's very true. And I think too, as women, our hormones are made out of fat, and we need, like, our sex hormones are made out of fat. We need fat in our diet to make them, but the effects on our skin, our hair, our nails, it's unbelievable the impact that fat has. I've definitely seen that firsthand.
I learned recently that your skin only like doesn't absorb 99% of the things you put on.
Yeah.
That is insane. This statement basically challenges an entire industry we're
Oh,
talking about. And so what I've learned is actually the best way to, have a good skin and just look good and support that like healthy aging is to consume foods that are really good for your skin. So ingestible skincare is getting really popular now because people are starting to understand really the things that you put on, like it doesn't really get absorbed. Like your skin doesn't really, your skin is a barrier, so
yeah,
it actually doesn't work that way. And I recently learned about
100%.
that and I just thought it was fascinating.
It is. It's crazy. And the other thing too is it doesn't, like, if people put on creams, lotions, serums, whatever to heal acne or to increase brightness or to try and reduce fine lines, it's not solving the root of why you have accelerated aging, why you have breakouts in the first place, why you have an uneven skin tone and texture. The root is often related to gut. It's related to high stress levels. It's related to metabolic dysfunction. It's related to high sugar, carbohydrate, processed food diet, environmental toxins. So what we put on topically is never going to heal the root of why we have the issues in the first place. But I will say food is the biggest lever. Like, if you want to
Yeah.
glow up, if you want really beautiful, clear complexion, clear skin, tight, whatever, firmness, tone, 100% diet. Not even a question. I feel like skincare is an afterthought, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, hot take, but honestly, when you look at the blue zones, which
Yeah.
for people who don't know, it's the air zones in the world where you have the most centurions living there. And when you look at really what they're doing, they're not like consuming this like array of supplements or this array of like skincare products. They're really doing the basics. And it sounds again very cheesy and very woo-woo, but I promise you, I see my grandma, I see my grandpa living in Tunisia, walking every day, grounding themselves, doing the bare minimum and feeling their best. And really like
Mhm.
really moving and eating with what's in season, what is the best thing, because nature has been made in a way that's like really aligned with how we should be living. Here's an example. Olive oil, the harvest for like olive trees and like olive oil happens between October to December. And the reason why it's because and what it helps you with immunity. Everything that we've talked about, like gut, all of this is related to immunity as well. And this is the time where your body is weak. So look at this synergy happening between the nature and what your body would need at this period of time because it's winter. Another fun fact, polyphenols are produced by the trees naturally, but they're produced naturally when they're under stress. So when they're going through any environmental stress, weather damage, like bug, all of this, the trees, in order to protect themselves, they produce these polyphenols. And those
Huh.
polyphenols, those antioxidants, protects us from oxidative stress. So there's such a synergy between like the trees and nature and our bodies, which I think is my favorite thing that I've learned working in the space.
That is very, very cool. It's also such a powerful note just how nature is our best medicine, you know? Like, why disrupt these natural rhythms and these natural healing properties with, I don't know, the pharmaceutical industry and the big food industry? The answers are all within nature, they're all within us. And there's just so much healing that already exists naturally. That's amazing. I want to segue into how all olive oil is not the same. This is a big misconception. I think we think just olive oil is olive oil and it's healthy, but it's actually not. And we need to know how to find and source high quality olive oil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the follow up question is how can we tell if it is a high quality?
Yes, this is one of the most corrupted commodities in like globally. We'll start first whenever I say Tunisian olive oil, people are like, what? Like people only know about Greek olive oil, Spanish olive oil, Italian. Like they don't know that Tunisia is like the fifth producer worldwide. The Tunisia, because of its so we have two main varieties there that's endemic to Tunisia, and it's very high quality. But countries like Italy and Spain will buy in bulk from Tunisia and resell them, labeling saying like made in Italy or made in Spain to jack up the price because they can get it at like, they can get basically cheap olive oil, but high quality olive oil from Tunisia. This is just like kind of a myth I want to debunk here since most people don't know about Tunisian olive oil, but it's one of the highest quality olive oil that you can get. It's just not popular or marketed as other countries do. There's 5 compounds to kind of like look for whenever you shop for olive oil. The first one is the freshness. The second is origin. Third is is harvest, processing, and storage. So the freshness is, when was it harvested? And you want to make sure that it was harvested within like, the last maximum 18 months. That's the shelf life of olive oil. But the higher in polyphenols, the higher shelf life it has. And you want to look for the harvest date, basically, not just like best buy. And then you also want to make sure that it's single origin. So it comes from a specific region and farm. It's not just vague Mediterranean blend, because this ensures that it's like less processed and make sure that like you have all of the compounds of one single variety. It doesn't mean that it's not high quality. You can have a Mediterranean blend that's like high quality, but it's not necessarily going to be the one that's mostly potent with the compounds found in one variety. When you start to mix it, it starts to lose its value. The third one is cold extracted and cold pressed. So this is kind of like the processing. You want to make sure that it's not processed foods. It's really just, the extraction happening and keeping it very simple, because that's how you can retain it as a real food. And then packaging. So you want to make sure that when it's stored, it's in dark glass or tin, not clear plastic. That's kind of like the worst form factor for olive oil. And then I would say when you taste it and you can feel that it's peppery or there's like a slight bitterness, that signals high polyphenols. That signals that it's potent in those natural plant compounds. Now, I do want to make a point that you can have a high quality olive oil, but not necessarily medicinal. But if it's medicinal, it's high quality. High quality can be, it comes from this farm in Italy and it's like the specific variety. It's been sitting on shelf for like 12 months. It's still high quality. Maybe it has degraded and it's like potency, but it's not really high in polyphenols. Polyphenols make the olive oil kind of like medicinal. And so the way to look for polyphenols, unfortunately, not a lot of brands will communicate that on their labels, because not a lot of people, actually most people, don't know what polyphenols are. But that's kind of what you want to look for. If you're going to take a shot of olive oil, you want to make sure that it's extremely high in polyphenols. So ours is, to give you a little bit of an idea, standard olive oil are just like 200 milligrams per kilo of polyphenols, and the EU regulation says that it has to be above 250 milligrams to be considered like, high in polyphenols. Ours is 1800 polyphenols, so it's extremely high. I think the highest in the world is like maybe 4,000, but it's like super hard to like, it comes from like a random place. But this is kind of like the highest in the market that you can immediately get. Another thing that we kind of take pride in is that because it comes from our family's grove, there's no middleman. As soon as it's harvested, it comes to the US directly and it's shipped to the customer. So basically the customer gets an olive oil that was harvested like maximum within the last month. And that is so unique in this like olive oil world, because when it sits on shelf, when it's like in big like supermarkets, it's not moving as quick. And so you basically have olive oil sitting on shelf. And so olive oil is not like wine. You want to consume it as quickly as possible. The last thing is the lab testing. And that's what I meant by like the polyphenols. So another thing that we do, we have the lab analysis on our website. So when you go to the product page and you go through the images, we have the polyphenol count and the acidity count and all of that, because those are the important things to look for when you're going to consume olive oil as your medicine. And yeah, that's kind of like all of the things to look for.
It's so important too, because the benefits of high quality olive oil are exponentially higher than a poor quality olive oil, which can actually be harmful for our health. I also think it's important to note how many commercial olive oils in the US are cut with cheaper seed oils to drive up profits, but they're called olive oil. How do we make sure we are not getting those? Because seed oils, and if you want to touch on this quickly as well, why are seed oils bad for us and how can we make sure that we avoid them when trying to buy olive oil?
Yeah, so I think seed oils got a really bad rep, which olive oil industry is benefiting to. But I would say seed oils in itself, they're not necessarily bad. What's bad in the seed oils is the processing. It's that they've been like highly processed foods, and they've been so their chemical compositions have been changed so much from like the what they are, that like you're not getting the nutritional value of it anymore, and it's actually doing more. The more you process food, the more you change its like chemical composition, the more it's going to be inflammatory. And so you want to kind of get away from that. And I kind of want to use this to add that olive oil is the best possible oil that you can use for cooking. It does not, there's this myth that like at a certain level, it's high heat and it's bad for you. No. Olive oil still retains, they did a study where they like heat it up for like 48 hours, something like that. It just did fine. It retained all of this nutritional value. The only thing that changed was the polyphenol count, which
Yeah.
if you want to consume olive oil for food, you're going to cook it. If you're going to consume it for your medicine, you're going to take a shot of it. You're not going to heat it up. And so, but there's this myth that like you can't cook with it, you can totally cook with it. And then to answer your question of how to make sure that what you're consuming is not cut with seed oils, I mean, all of the things that I've already mentioned, like making sure that like where it comes from, if it's a reputable, like, or not even reputable, like if it comes from like a local, authentic family state somewhere, in one of these like European or Mediterranean countries, you have higher chances of like kind of trusting and making sure that they're like transparent of where it comes from, instead of like going for a brand that's highly commercialized. It's usually when it's highly commercialized, you're not getting high quality. So,
Right.
and then the second thing is that I think it's just the lab analysis. Like it's hard to know, and that is not unless you go through like uh, a family owned
Right.
estate. And another thing, it's like a taste. If you taste it, you can usually, I mean, the thing is like with our olive oil, what I found out when we did samples, it's like most people actually don't know what olive oil tastes like.
Hmm.
Olive oil is supposed to taste peppery. It's supposed to taste a little bit bitter, and it has this like flavor profile to it. And most people are not used to that. So I was gonna say another thing to tell, like another way to tell is to taste it and see how it tastes like. If it tastes like, olive oil, if it tastes like, if it tastes mild and you're not tasting anything, it's probably not high quality and it's probably cut with some other things. But yeah, those are kind of like the things I would look for.
Awesome. That's very helpful. Let's debunk some of the myths around olive oil. The first being, why does olive oil not make you fat? Everyone is so caught up with the calories and fat and ignoring the amazing health benefits. So I'd love if you could debunk that myth for us.
So yeah, this is a big one. Weight gain is about overall energy balance.
Hmm.
So olive oil often improves satiety and food quality. So it's not necessarily like it doesn't make you fat because it if you consume like extreme amounts, yes, okay, maybe because it has like too many calories. But for you're consuming other things that are high in calories. And before we get into the myth of calories, it helps you reduce cravings. It helps you feel full longer. So you actually end up eating less. And it helps you like, I know if I'm gonna have a shot of olive oil before a meal, I'm not gonna actually have that much food. It really makes you feel full. I mean, it's fats. It's healthy fats, and your body needs those for energy balance. So it actually does the opposite. It's a myth. It does not make you gain weight unless you really consume an extreme amount. But
Right.
I can promise you the average American is already consuming other calories that are more detrimental to their health than olive oil.
The metabolic impact is really important because fat reduces blood sugar spikes. And every time you have a blood sugar spike, you increase fat storage. So olive oil, which levels out your blood sugar, especially as you said before, take it before a meal, you won't have as much of a spike. You'll have less of an inflammatory effect. So it just kind of keeps you in balance. I feel like it keeps you in rhythm and, eating intuitively and intentionally. You're not going into a meal starving. You want to finish every single thing on your plate, even if you're not hungry for it. I feel like I don't know, it just levels out your body so you can eat intuitively, eat until you're full, and then you kind of naturally just maintain a healthy weight. And I don't know. The
Nice.
process food industry, which is so chemically modified, it makes you addicted to the food. It makes you wanna overeat, but something like olive oil, which is such a real, whole, healthy food, actually just makes you eat intuitively.
There you go.
So important. It's so important. So we kinda touched on calories in olive oil should be ignored. Olive oil is very, very healthy and benefits outweigh calories. And calories from real whole foods also, I just, don't think about it. It does not matter. If it's a real whole food, don't
Yeah.
go there.
Yeah, I mean, it is calorie dense. I mean, our shot of 20 ounces is 124 calories. It's calorie dense, so portion matters, and that's why we make sure that the dosage is right. But the thing is, like I said before, it replaces worse calories and
Yeah,
help you eat less overall. So it actually ends up being a beneficial things for you to consume. And also,
totally.
we don't realize this, but like when we're consuming all of these sodas and like drinks, like sparkling drinks or any other things that we just like have normalized part of our diet, that actually is even more, has more calories and like has, or maybe has less calories, but has more sugar. So it's going to make you still hungry because your body is craving for good energy, and good energy is protein, healthy fats. What else? Like all of these, important nutrients in your body versus if you consume like a sugary drinks, then it's going to make you, it's maybe like less calories, maybe like 50 calories, but it's going to make you want to eat more because you're not.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah, 100% because 'cause you're not actually nourishing your body. They're like empty
exactly.
calories, overeat. Amazing. I would love to dive in before we wrap up. What are your favorite ways to cook with olive oil? Obviously, you take your shots daily, but favorite recipes, favorite ways to just incorporate olive oil, healthy fats into your meals and snacks, and maybe some, travel hacks too. I think that's really important.
Travel hacks. Ooh.
What do you bring with you to eat to feel good?
What do I like travel with to feel good?
Yeah. Yeah. Give us let's go some of your favorite meals, ways that you incorporate olive oil just into your day-to-day meals, some of your favorite snacks, and then, yeah, ways that you stay healthy traveling. What do you bring with you? Do you bring your olive oil shots?
Yeah. So, favorite meals, I mean, of course, I take it as a shot in the morning. I have it if I have, I like to do bowls when I'm in
Mm,
the US. Like, I do like easy bowls, so like salmon. I make sure I have a lot of protein, maybe some rice, veggies, and I will have it on my salmon. Another way is that anytime I cook, I make salads, Tunisian salads. So, we have different types. I will always add olive oil on it. That's my favorite. Honestly, I add olive oil everywhere. Yeah, I think I add it everywhere but soup.
everything. I know.
Yeah. So, yeah, I added in a lot of salads, and salads then the Tunisian salads are not necessarily the salads that we know here. Like, they're like some of them are like cooked or, grilled vegetables, and then I will
Mhm.
have olive oil on that. Yeah, those are my favorite. And then, yes, for traveling, always, always, always get bloated whenever I travel. Like, this is just like, I should not feel good. I'm introduced to new food. I'm not sleeping that much. So my body is not really used to it. So I always bring my shots with me. Also, it's perfect because they're like so easy to carry. They're like small. You can put them in your makeup case. And it's really amazing. And a lot of our customers like travel with them as well. It's kind of like most of them actually get it to travel with. So it's really, we know you're going to be bloated. So have it on the go. It's kind of like the value prop here.
Mhm. I love
What else? My vitamin D, always bring it with me. I don't take that much supplements. And then, yeah,
Yeah, I think the better your diet and the better your lifestyle, the less supplements you need.
yeah.
You're
And
getting all the
also,
nutrients from food.
yeah, if I'm having like airport food, I'm like adding I don't know if you know that farmer's fridge thing, and then you get the bowl. So I always have my olive oil and I put it on there. Either take it as a shot or have it on that.
Can you put the
Yeah.
sheet on your food, or are they meant to be taken,
They're
on an
meant to be taking, like, on an empty stomach, like, I'm not trying to s we're not trying to, I always say we're a health company leveraging, a natural plant compound that's available in olive oil and making it accessible to you. If there's a supplement for something to make you feel better per se, why shouldn't there be this food that actually helps with bloating, that actually delivers on immediate results, which I think is really
Mhm.
something that, like, is important to take into consideration. Like, this is not just something that's gonna like, you're going to feel better. You're actually gonna have regular bowel movements. And so I think yeah, it's important to have it as a consistency. That's something that's very important. Like, it's not about just taking it once. It's really about being consistent, of doing it at least for a month and seeing how you feel. And
Yeah.
it's gonna feel like a little bit weird at the beginning. Like, you're gonna feel some stomach cramps, but that's the whole point because it flushes your bladder, gallbladder and helps to kind of heal your gut slowly. But
Mm.
that's kind of like what happens when you start the cure.
Yeah. I can imagine that it probably, once you get used to it and get in a rhythm of it, and it also probably makes you feel better that you start making healthier changes elsewhere in your life. You start
Yeah.
gravitating towards healthier meals or incorporating olive oil elsewhere. And then you just feel really good. I know I'm a huge, huge olive oil fan, so I got to start incorporating your shots daily. Amazing. Well, this has been such an important, formative, and a fun episode full of so many healthy tips and a lot of the questions answered around olive oil that I think we don't know about. I'd love to leave the audience with where everyone can find you.
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram or TikTok. Well, Instagram, Maya from Tunisia, TikTok, Olive Oil Shots, and
I love it.
LinkedIn as well, my first and last name. And yeah, I'm always, if anyone has any questions or wants to talk deeper about this, I'm always open to share my experience and kind of help you learn more about the other tools that are available to you.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you for coming on, and we will definitely have you back.
Yeah, thank you, Annie, for having me. This was so fun.
Amazing. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Let's Feel Good. If today's episode helped you feel more clear, empowered, or inspired to take action on your health, I'd love if you'd subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend who's on their wellness journey too. You can find today's show notes, links, and extra resources over on Substack at letsfeelgood.substack.com, and follow along on Instagram at Let's Feel Good Club for more real-life wellness tips in between episodes. Because how you live determines how you feel, and we all deserve to feel amazing. See you next time.